Good morning, traders. It is 8 a.m. Chicago time on Monday, the 4th of April, 2022. The first thing I'm going to ask you is for sound, a sound check. It should be splendid today after a lot of testing and some optimization. Let me know how it's coming across. So that's good. We got it done, guys. Anyway, this is episode number 2205. Derivatives trading is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. The conversion trading pre-market summary sheet shows the market is in a neutral stance. We have some items, some indices that are up, some are down. And the NASDAQ showing a little bit of strength overall, trading still inside of Friday's range and holding steady there. Looks like today China's closed. Slow news week. You got to be careful this week as the market is likely to be in a kind of a holding pattern. There isn't very much on the calendar to push us around. Looking at the week, we did have balance of trade this morning. This morning out of Germany came in at 11.4 billion versus 7.1 billion forecast. And then we're expecting factory orders out of the U.S. The consensus and forecast is negative 0.5%. And then at 8:30 p.m., we have the Gbon Bank Service PMI expecting 48.7. For the week, though, looking ahead, we have the key figures, the three-star figures are balanced trade out of the U.S. That's at 8:30 Eastern tomorrow. ISM non-manufacturing PMI at 10 a.m. tomorrow. Wednesday, we have the FOMC minutes at 2 p.m. And then on Friday, we have consumer confidence out of Japan at 1 a.m. Eastern. So very, very light on the calendar. There's still a lot of turbulence in the energy markets. There was a news headline this morning that Saudi Arabia will be raising its price to Asia in May by $9.35 per barrel, causing part of what caused crude to shoot up this morning. But overall, you know, with the news coming out of Kyiv and the suburbs of Kyiv where mass graves were found and stuff, there's talk of further sanctions against Russia, which creates a little more risk overhang versus some sort of a ceasefire, which would relieve risk from the market. So crude has popped higher. Crude was really dragging all evening here U.S. time until recently. The low at 98.05, the high at 102.75 in crude. We're seeing gold jump a little bit, silver, copper. Crypto sideways. Ether has really jumped and has been hovering around the 3,500, and that's where we stand. Again, it is Monday. These numbers are updated. And what I noticed in updating these statistical numbers here, the harmonic rotations, very, very important. I've talked about them a lot. I won't repeat it here. But what's important to know here is this has moved from 9.5 points per swing in the ES to 6.5. 9.5 was 2 weeks ago. 8 was last week, I believe, and 6.5 now. Same with the NASDAQ, was in the high 40s, dropped to 42, and now at 31. So what this is saying is the volatility is dropping, the harmonic rotations are dropping, which means that our stops can be tightened, but also our scales can be tightened. With tighter stops and maintaining a consistent risk per trade, more size can be traded. This is what this is suggesting. Even crude, which has remained quite volatile, has dropped. I believe it was 57 cents per rotation, and now it's at 52. Looking at the S&P this morning, the S&P is relatively light, in line with the prior sessions, 136,000 contracts. The inventory is pretty much even, 22% long. Doesn't really tell us anything. And the range is well within expectations at 23.5 points. Very quiet overnight session, a double distribution profile in the S&P, point of control at 45.35. The thing to note, though, is this has pushed higher than Friday's RTH high. So there is, again, still an attraction towards that 45.50, the mid-century figure. It put in a high of 45.51 and a quarter, okay? So that's where that stands. Talking about Friday, I discussed the fact, and I posted we posted a portion of this video about this move down being impulsive on Thursday and the expectation that we would take out the 26.25. So I didn't draw scenarios on Friday, but was looking for to push that 26.25 low and to shoot up. Remember the analogy about the ball rolling up and down this hill and up and down until it settles in here, until it has energy to push away. I still see the 4,600 as an overhead line here. It did push to 4,630, but overall there's a lot to account for, and I'm expecting it to kind of mess around here with the middle of the range between 4,600 and 4,500. This is where we're stuck right now. But on Friday, I expected it to take the 26.25 out, 26.25 out, and to push higher. This is from Friday. Yes, my face is frozen because this is from Friday's. This is the review segment. This is not the current. This is Friday's Trader Bite. Okay, so what did we do? So the expectation, take out 26.25 either Friday or Monday, and then push higher. Here's what actually happened. Here's what actually happened. We open up in an open auction, okay, back and forth, and then we break down, try to come back into the OS, break down even further, and we break that 26.25. So that was what was expected, push through the 26.25. It ended up coming back to the mid here, giving us the setup, but it was really difficult to hang on to that mid short, especially having come back into the range. This is one of the caveats. The mid cannot be traded in a vacuum. I talked about this last Wednesday on Futures Radio Show. I'll link you to that in a minute. Talked about the mid setup again. You should not be taking a mid setup in an open auction that continues, because then the mid is just getting trampled. But as soon as we have an impulse and a pullback, that first test of the mid is something I want to take. And lately the stop has been around 3 points, and this would have basically stopped out. So it finally breaks down, and then we have this blip back into the IB. So we've got the IB done, the initial balance, the first hour is low and higher in, these are the yellow lines. And then we get below, and the expectation is we would get below, pull back to this basically to this double bottom, very obvious target, double IB low. This is the double IB low stat. Historically speaking, this is broken approximately 83% or thereabouts. It's pretty high, 83% probability of that breaking before the end of the session, this double low at 18. So the mid here would target, the mid would look to get in this 31 area and target that 18, giving us a 6R return or something like that. So finally it pushes through, and then what do? We consolidate and have that push higher into the close. So we ended up finishing actually positive on the day on Friday as expected. Why? Because again, here's that other side, and we're expecting it to just do this and this and this and this in between these two high volume nodes. We expect the market to just go back and forth and back and forth, and today is no exception. I'm coming in today with very low expectations as to directional movement. There's not much news flow that the market would need to reprice, and so the expectation is we're likely to just chop around, and it's likely to be a scalp-ish environment. What we have overnight is a week high, pretty low volume, relatively low volume, week high. We have a low volume node in the overnight session that's in line with the mid and the full session VWAP, full session mid, which are at 39.50 and 40.50. So we just tested this area again. We just went to, looks like 38.50 and are turning up. So it's important to watch to see it. Unfortunately, I have to change my scale here because this has shrunk. So the volatility shrinking means I need to expand my scale before keeping it fixed. Here's the line in the sand, this 46 to 40 area. We want to see what it does. If it breaks down and holds that 40 to 46 area from below, then we are likely to take a test down into the 15 or 14 area, more specifically 45.14. Go down and check this area right here. That's what's likely to happen. If not, if it holds above this 40 and starts to take out the high, then we start to look for a push into the 45.70 area, 45.77 being key, 45.77 being that multi-February high and the March swing low. That's a key support resistance line right up there. And you'll notice 45.65 is marked as the over-under line for the session. Looking at the big picture, the magnet is well below. I'm still bearish. I've been since that day before the sell-off, and that condition continues. Okay, so that's what I'm looking at overall. The overview, real quick, on Edge Pro X, the overview is that we finished March with quite a bit of separation between the VWAP and price across the board, across the ES, Dow, and NASDAQ. Even the Russell ran away from its VWAP, which it doesn't very often do, hasn't done so since the sell-off at the beginning of the year. There's a lot of room, in my opinion, to the downside in those products. Again, ES, YM, NQ, Russell, there's a lot of room to move towards 4,400, in my opinion. There's very little catalyst right now to do that, maybe this week. But next week, we start to get, I believe, JP Morgan, and we start to get the real big hitters in terms of earnings, and I expect that to move us along. So I'm still skewing bearish, but I want to be very specific here, very clear in saying we are still following price. Don't sit here and be an analyst. You're still following price. You might have an idea, but I trust price. And so I'm trading off of price, okay? So that's where we stand. Not much more to offer here. Looking at what we've got for today in terms of our expectations. There we go. Oh, by the way, last Wednesday I did the show. We gave away Bose headsets. If you have not watched that show, and you're relatively you're struggling with consistency, I strongly suggest you watch this show. I lay out 10 bullets, 11 really. I put risk in its own special place because it is special. You can go to edgeclear.com/deli. While you're there, you can sign up for April's giveaway, which is 5 4K Logitech Pro webcams. So with the headset and the Pro webcam, you should be able to communicate with your whoever you trade with a little bit better. You should be able to journal a little bit better. But I suggest you sign up for that, but also go and watch the video. The video recording is in the middle of the page. Watch that recording. I go over the 10 pieces you kind of need to have in place to trade sustainably, but also you can watch the recording and sign up for the next giveaway. Okay. So what do we have for today? Let me reduce this a little bit again. Yeah, it's a little too much. Okay, so what are we looking for today? This morning, I'm looking for an open auction right at the edge of Friday's range. Looking for an open auction. I'm looking for this thing to dip and respond towards 45.35. So I'm going to be a seller. I'm going to sell. Oh, I can't write very well. Sell. Going to sell any attempt to push towards the 47, 48 area. I'm looking for it to break down through the 40, back to the 35, back to settlement. Okay. And then I'm looking for this thing to make its way down to 45.30, the overnight stat at 27.75. And then to consolidate here. So overall, it might break the one-time framing down on the daily by breaking 45.45, which is Friday's RTH high. But overall, I'm expecting this thing to be quite balanced. I'm really not expecting very much in terms of the profile today. I'm looking for a somewhat of a boxy or fat belly type of profile. Not expecting too much in terms of that. So the areas I'm looking for tests on, I'm really looking for it to pull back into this 25 area, 25, and to hold the 47, 48 area up here. Okay? If it doesn't do that, then we've got scenario 2. So that's scenario 1. Scenario 2, so I'm watching carefully to see how it tests 48. Does it breach 51, the overnight high? How does it pull back after the breach? Does it fall right through? That's another indication that I need to find a pullback to short, looking for a continuation lower. Or does it break through and have weak pullbacks, and then the buyers are likely to take it to that 66 over underline? This becomes the scenario 2 play. Scenario 2, pull back into the 40-ish area, 40 right here, consolidate, 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 compress, then push to 47, take out the 51, take out the 51, give us the overnight stat, consolidate a while, and then start to move towards that, take back some of that selling tail from Thursday and move back towards 67. In this case, 65, 67 becomes the price to watch out for up above. That's scenario 2, and this becomes an intermediate low, and then the magnet is likely to move higher. If this scenario 2 happens, the magnet is likely to move up into the 45.66, and the over-under begins to move down into the 45.47, and the bias becomes flipped to the positive side. But scenario one's expected to dominate this morning. That's the big trade of the day. It's up to the market to decide what it wants to do. But if I catch a short, I'm looking for 25 today. I'm looking for 27, 25. And if it wants to continue, great. The next area would be 14 on the map, right here, 14 down below. That's all. All I can do is follow what price does rather than sit here and expect the market to go higher or lower. It's not up to me, okay? Good luck today, and I'll catch you tomorrow morning. Take care.